is. How was yesterday?
Perfect.
Bit rubbish?
Well, we only rode one test ride out of 6 where it was actually raining.
Oh, okay, you got lucky.
It just dodged us all day. It was black.
Yeah, you're lucky. Because south of here it was pissing all day.
Hammered. We heard. And, yeah, it was just, we were just lucky. We were not lucky. So wet conditions most of the day, but actually riding in the rain, hardly at all.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it was good. But it was hot. It was really hot yesterday. Really humid. Everyone was real sticky and dirty, and
even on the coast it was steamy.
Yeah, it was like
rubbish.
Yeah, it was. Like today, the temperature's so much nicer, so much fresher.
It was a bit brisk this morning, coming over the hills.
Yeah, I bet.
14.
Yeah. But at this point, we've got it pretty sweet.
Chris Vermeulen. Ex-MotoGP rider.
Who had ridden with Quick Shift for the first time then? Was anyone? Yeah, how's that? Nice? Yeah, it's a pretty sweet little addition to the bike, that's for sure. It works really well. So that's a nice little extra on the 1200s now. Any other questions at the moment with that? We'll spin. Who have we got as a first time rider for today? Is anyone? Oh, you guys, yeah, just for the test rides. Who's out on their first test ride?
Yeah.
Oh, a couple. Yeah, okay, great. So that's awesome. So we're just going to run through a demonstration here of the ABS and traction control systems. Won't take too long, but it's a really good spot to show some different things and really get a good feel for how it all works. So the first one we're going to start with is ABS and show a few of the features of the brake system and how it helps you as a rider. Who's had a problem on a motorcycle before with the front brake? Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. Generally we say if you haven't, you either don't use the front brake or maybe you haven't been riding long enough yet. But it's pretty easy. As soon as you get that front brake application wrong, it's a real quick and easy way to lose control of the bike and usually ends up with you laying on the side, unfortunately. So the systems we have help avoid that. But the first thing we're going to do, we'll just get Chris to fire up. He's turned ABS off, so deactivated it. You'll just see how easy it is to lock the front wheel on the bike as he rides along. You don't have to be going fast at all. A little bit of a squeeze of that front brake, and that easy, and you can lock the front wheel, and you can see the bike twitch, and that's at a really low speed. So you can imagine you get that wrong at even 40 or 50 k an hour, let alone higher speeds. And if you don't have lightning reactions to it, generally it causes a crash. So that's just a quick one to see how easy it is to get it wrong. We'll switch ABS back on now, and he's going to do a couple of different demonstrations. The first ones will be over on the road behind us here, so we can switch around. So Chris has gone to road mode, so the road calibrated ABS system. He's going to turn around and come down the hill and basically just do an emergency stop on the road. So he'll come down at a speed he's comfortable and just squeeze the brakes as hard as he possibly can. Brake. There's no rider feel or skill going into that at all. That's 4 fingers on the brake, stomping on the rear brake pedal as hard as possible. You can see how controlled the bike remains. Didn't twitch, didn't do anything. And you compare to how lightly he had to touch the brake on the gravel before and that lock-up would occur. So you can imagine if there was no ABS, that would be a crash, what we just saw. So the system works very well. I think this is the most impressive demonstration. What he's going to do is exactly the same thing, but he's going to start his braking on the bitumen and let the bike run onto the gravel. Doesn't change the brake pressure, lets the system, the braking,
wow,
onto the gravel.
That is impressive.
To a stop. So the way that ABS system on the bike picks up that change in traction, it's almost a little bit magic. Because you can imagine, guys, how much you can see the deceleration on the bitumen with a lot of grip, and then the second it gets to that gravel, the traction probably, I don't know, you've probably got 20% of the traction you have on the bitumen. Yeah, the system, it doesn't even skid a little bit and then react. It picks it up that quick. About 300 times a second it's calculating the surface changes. So you can see how well that works. And you know, that's unfortunately that's kind of a common scenario when you're really yanking on the brakes. It might be because you've come into a turn too fast. You're trying to stop the bike and it generally you run out of bitumen and you might run onto the shoulder or something, and that system will still keep you upright. So this time he's gone to enduro mode, the off-road calibrated system, and he'll only brake on the dirt. So the difference, or the thing to notice there, when he goes to the enduro mode, the off-road calibrated brake system, I don't know if you could hear the difference. The bike, the tyres sort of sounded like they were biting a bit harder. There was a bit more of a skid kind of sound. So essentially, the system is freed up a little bit. It doesn't intervene as quickly, or it's not as sensitive as it is in the road mode. So it's designed to allow a little bit more slip when the traction's less, to give the tyres a little bit more chance to bite into the surface before it releases the brake. You still will not lock a wheel. You can see it didn't lock a wheel, it's totally stable, but it does release or relax the system a tiny little bit, which actually means the bike brakes more efficiently off-road.
Especially on probably wet grass or on mud.
Yeah.
Because then you need to bite in.
Exactly, and the slipperier the surface, the bigger difference you will see in stopping distance between the enduro mode and road mode on an off-road surface, if that makes sense. So when it's really slippery off-road and you're in road mode, the system's so sensitive that it almost won't apply any brakes, because it picks up the slip so early and it releases brakes, and you don't crash from a wheel lock-up, but it does extend your braking distance a little bit. But that enduro mode isn't so sensitive, and it allows the tyres to bite a little bit more and works more efficiently. So it's a really nice addition to the systems on the bikes in the last few years. The last thing we can go to is Enduro Pro mode. I think that thing's got it, mate. Yep. And when we go to that, it's only on the 1200. What it does, it's a nice mode, a nice addition for experienced off-road riders. You can deactivate ABS on the rear wheel only. So right now Chris still has ABS on the front wheel, so he can't lock the front brake up, but it allows you to skid the rear wheel. And for riders that have a lot of off-road background, that's a skill that they use quite a bit, and it's a practical skill. It's not just for having fun on a dirt road like this. So that's a nice little addition to the 1200.
In that mode, if you don't touch the rear brake, does the handbrake engage the back at all?
Yeah, so on the 1200s, doesn't matter which mode you're in, there is a small amount of integration front to rear.
Even on Enduro Pro?
Yeah, even in Enduro Pro. Yep, that's across the board, a small amount, but the second your foot touches the rear brake pedal, you'd be overriding the amount of integration. Yeah, yeah. So it's just a really small amount. That Enduro Pro mode, it's standard with the bike, but it's not fitted. It's a plug under the seat. So it's something that BMW want you to acknowledge, you understand how that system works. When you put the plug in, you do it yourself, you acknowledge that it deactivates ABS. Even though it's the back wheel, it can still get you into trouble if you're not ready for it, if you lock a rear wheel up at the wrong time. So you need to have a bit of experience and be comfortable with off-road riding, but if you are, it's a mode that's been, you know, really well received by off-road riders. It's a great one because you still have that safety net on the front brake if you do get it wrong. In any other bike, to be able to lock the rear wheel up, you have to totally disable ABS, so you don't have it on the front either. Alright, so any questions with ABS? Okay, we'll roll over into traction control now. We'll get Chris to pop it into road mode, and you'll see everyone knows what a 1200 would do on a surface like that with no traction control. If you just gave it a big fistful, it'd just spin up, probably do a 180 and put you on your back.
We'll leave ABS.
Yeah.
You haven't got Enduro Pro.
Yeah.
You're riding a lot on gravel.
Yeah.
You turn the ABS off.
No, you just use enduro mode.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just the regular enduro mode, and the same goes for the 800s as well.
Yeah,
if you have that, yeah, some riders feel the enduro mode is more of an advanced mode, but it's not at all about that. It's just totally that the system is calibrated for the surface you're on. So it will actually work more efficiently off-road if you go to that enduro mode. If you're really steady off-road, there's no problem staying in road mode. It'll be fine, but the second you want to ride with any more speed or just start to creep that side of things up a little bit, enduro mode is a much better option. But it's a good question. Alright, so yeah, we'll roll over to traction control. So we'll see Chris right away here. And just give big handfuls of throttle. 0 to 100% in first gear on a 1200 on the dirt, and it doesn't let anything go wrong.
Anything when it's a bit wet.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime the surface is slippery. So now we'll see it again. Big pistol. A little bit of lean angle as well, even leaning the bike over and giving it a fistful, and the system reacts that quickly. There's not even any chance for the bike to slide or get out of hand. So
what mode's he in now?
So that was in road mode.
Yep.
So the reason we show you that off-road is one, so you can see how quick the system reacts and works, but also that's why in the past road mode traction control or road calibrated traction control can be, you know, a little bit restricting for off-road riders. Sometimes riders like to be able to get the rear wheel to drift a little bit off turns, or in really rough, if you come off a hairpin turn that's got a lot of corrugation, sometimes traction control will intervene too much, almost to the point where it can stop you. So it's a great system, it does its job, but off-road it can be a little bit too sensitive. So when you go to enduro mode for traction control, it does similar to what it did for the brakes. It frees up the traction control and allows a little bit more wheel spin before it intervenes. So in off-road situations, you can actually get the rear wheel to drift a little bit off turns, but yet you still have that safety net of traction control still being there. In the past, to do that, you would have had to turn traction control off completely because the road calibrated systems are too sensitive for that off-road surface. So, enduro mode and just a little... So you'll see in enduro mode, I think in second gear, as he comes off this turn, you'll notice he'll be able to get a little bit of a slide. So we're not talking big, crazy speedway slides. You don't want to do that stuff on these bikes, but you can see enough to just have the rear wheel sit outside the line of the front wheel, I guess. And that still has traction control activated there, so enough freedom to do that. But if you really got it wrong, or if a rider is a bit too trigger happy on the throttle and they just go for a big fistful off a turn, it'll slip a little bit, but it'll read that there's still too much throttle, and it'll control that wheel spin and keep the bike in a straight line. So yeah, it's the two systems work really well depending on what surface you're on, and it allows you to keep that safety net much closer to you on a lot of different surfaces now. Alright, does that make sense, guys? Any other questions? Any questions with the traction control systems? No? Alright. So what we're going to do, we will head further up this road. For those that haven't been up there yet, it climbs up the hill a little bit, nothing, it stays as a road, you can drive cars up, no problem. It does end up with sort of wheel tracks and a little bit of a crown in the centre of the road that's looser gravel. The two wheel tracks are really firm. So don't stress too much about that. If you do need to cross over that cushion in the middle, the key there is to not throw any crazy control inputs as you cross over it. So essentially the best thing to do is picture the bike on cruise control. Just constant throttle, steer over it to the other side. You only get into trouble on that loose gravel in the centre if you feel a bit of movement and panic with a big chop of the throttle or jump on the brakes or something like that. So otherwise, easier to ride in the wheel tracks. Just be aware there could be traffic coming the other way. It's pretty quiet, but we have seen the odd car coming down the hill, so just be aware of that. If you're comfortable to go into enduro mode now, feel free. If you haven't done much off-road riding before and it's pretty new to you, it's probably better to stay in road mode just for now, and that keeps it all a bit more sensitive and probably more confident feeling for the rider. So it's up to you guys, but yeah, choose whichever you feel is right for you, and we'll head on up the hill, guys. Yeah, good point. There is a U-turn at the top, so we come back to the same hill. It's around a tree, guys. You'll see as I lead in, but it's pretty slow. If you have to slow right down, put your feet out, and literally just sort of slip the clutch and walk the bike. There's a big enough area to make a pretty wide turn, so it's not too tricky. But yeah, just be aware of that at the top, guys. All right. Okay. Yeah, happy to do. Yeah, no problem at all. Custom those electronics coming from Big Dirt. Oh yeah. I'll come down the hill and look at the dash about 5 times every time I do that one. I always wonder, would I be able to react quick enough to save it? Probably not.